Hello and welcome once again to this African Cup of Nations show here on France 24. I'm Jean-Emile Jamin and I'll be joined by Eurosport's Ruben Slagter to go over all of Friday's blistering action. First, a quick recap, though, of the results, which saw Cape Verde continue their excellent form, wrapping up a processionary 3-0 win over Mozambique, becoming the first team to qualify for this year's knockouts. Then Senegal maintained their credentials, coming up on top against Cameroon 3-1. And finally, Guinea made sure they got the job done as they triumphed 1-0 over Gambia to climb up to 4 points in a Group D. Well, this was the big one. Senegal, Cameroon, the one everyone marked in their calendars, the Battle of the Lions, and the reigning champions. They showed why they are among the favourites yet again, dominating 3-1. Ismaila Sarr opening the scoring before Habib Dialo made it 2 after the half. And while Cameroon grabbed one back through Jean-Charles Castelletto, Sadio Mané shot past Andre Onana in goal to qualify Senegal for the knockouts. Ruben, such a difference between the two teams, Senegal and Cameroon. What did you take away from that game?
Yeah, it's day and night between the two. I mean, I even had the idea that for Senegal, at some point you thought even a draw is enough, but they didn't even have to do such a big effort to win this game. And that's, of course, for a big country or a huge footballing country, which is Cameroon. It's a shame. I think they will be very, very angry. The people in Cameroon are very disappointed because this was the big game. It's the defending champion. You want to show what you're made of, and Senegal was better in every part of the game today. And that's, yeah, it's very worrying because it's not only about what's happened on the pitch. We can talk about the difference between the managers. We can talk about the difference between the federations. It's a real difference between those two great countries of African football. I mean, Senegal is light years ahead for now.
Light years ahead. I mean, I want to actually talk about the difference in coaches. Let's actually hear from them, Aliou Cissé and Rigobert Song.
It's hard to promise anything since we're in the middle of a competition. I'll say it again. Today we won the second match, which means we qualify for the last 16. And as I say, nothing's over. We still have the group match against Guinea, which is very important.
Nothing is lost yet. There's still hope. The last match will be a final for us because we've got nothing left to lose. I still think and know that we're going to the second round.
So Rigobert Song there, very confident that his team will still qualify for the knockouts. Well, one man who got to see the game in all of its splendor was our correspondent in Yamoussoukro. That's Justice Baidoo. Justice, welcome back. You've been football mad lately. It's been a real spectacle, but you got to see a team which many have tipped to go on and get their trophy yet again in Senegal. How impressed were you with their play?
Yes, absolutely. This young, talented Senegal side, absolute delight to watch. The team, and the interesting thing about the team is just about the ages of the players. These are very, very young players. If you take out Sadio Mané and Koulibaly, and then the goalkeeper, almost the rest of the team that is left is an entirely young team, which tells you how many more years that this team could play and which level they could go for Senegalese football. So, I mean, it was an absolutely beautiful game to watch. Cameroon, they looked like they were going to be able to hold the Senegalese team. They started on a very good note, but once the goals started coming in, they had to fall back, and then Senegal were able to pile on more pressure, and then were able to get all the three goals, with Cameroon only taking one. The fans have been amazing. I guess it's one of the things that you don't get to see if you are watching from outside the stadium. It's just the amount of sound and noise and drums that are being sounded inside this particular stadium. A lot of Senegal has been able to mobilize huge numbers of its support base to come here to Ivory Coast. I think part of it is also because geographically it is really close to Ivory Coast, and so it's been quite easy getting the numbers here. And they've been huge behind the Senegalese team, and I guess it's part of the reasons why they keep performing and they look going all the way. I really, really would want to see which other team in this tournament, having looked at everybody play so far, which other team will be able to stop the Senegalese side.
It is a very interesting question. I'm going to pose it to Ruben just now, but first we're going to have to speed things up and go to the late game of the day, as Guinea proved that they are possibly a force to be reckoned with. They're going to be playing Senegal in the last game, but they first triumphed 1-0 over a plucky Gambia. That was thanks to a well-taken strike by Agibou Kamara. What kind of threat do Guinea pose here in this tournament?
They pose a threat because we're still waiting for the big man to come on. So we're waiting for Guirassy, who is the sensational striker in the Bundesliga this year, because he's still not 100% ready. And they gambled with it because, they could easily have drawn today, and then normally they are out of the tournament. But now they have 4 points and they will probably go through. And then we'll even see another Guinea. But I really like this Guinea team. I think that also we saw against Cameroon, especially the first 20, 30 minutes, what they're capable of. Then they got that red card and the game changed, of course. But I think that they have a squad that can surprise other teams. And we've seen already so many surprises. I have to agree with Justice that I think that against the big ones, and to me, there are only two in this tournament. The real favorites are Morocco and Senegal. But against all the other teams, I think that Guinea will fancy their chances. And today, I think they will be really happy also because it was a revenge for that second round match 2 years ago where they lost against Gambia. So it was also some a personal revenge on the Gambian team.
But you do really feel that this is a more enforced Guinea outfit. Of course, then this does have very cool permutations for the group. See as it stands, Senegal obviously now through. They're firmly on top, and the interesting game now becomes Guinea against Senegal, because if Guinea get anything, that means that Cameroon are out. And Cameroon themselves have to beat Gambia. If we take a look at the table, we will see that. But it does mean that Cameroon only have that solitary point from their first 2 games. So here's the table. Group C as it stands. Senegal there on top, and Guinea, Cameroon and Gambia. That final crunch match between Guinea and Senegal. Do we think Guinea can get something from there?
Yeah, well, I have to admit that while coming here, I was in a taxi with a Guinean taxi driver, and I said, okay, well, you can make some kind of a draw, make an agreement. He said, no, between Guinea and Senegal, that's not possible because they're neighbors, because there's much history between the two teams. So he said, okay, well, they will never going to give it to us, so we really have to look for it. It depends, of course, how important it will be for Senegal, because they are already through. They're maybe not going to play their best 11, so that could get an opportunity. We also shouldn't forget that for Cameroon, winning the game will give them 4 points, and they could become a best third team in the competition, and they could still go through. But then they still need a few goals, because there's now a -2, and that also could play a role. So that Cameroon, maybe even the Cameroon-Gambia match will be even more interesting, because they both really have to win.
So really important crunch match. That's Cameroon against Gambia, having to get those goals back. Let's go back, though, to Friday's first result, and what a fantastic one it was for the Blue Sharks of Cape Verde as they ran rampant over Mozambique, qualifying for the knockout stages, becoming the first team to do so in this AFCON. That's ahead of Egypt and Ghana. Well, former Man United forward Bebe opened with a stunning long-range free kick. Captain Ryan Mendes doubled the lead after half-time, and Kevin Pina wrapped up the win with a stunning strike. Justice, you've obviously been following the game. What a set of goals it was for Cape Verde.
Amazing, beautiful goals there. We've consistently said that the AFCON tournament is probably the most unpredictable tournament that you could cover or speak about as a sports pundit. Who would have thought that in a group that has Egypt, 7-time winners of this tournament, consistent top performers at this particular competition, and Ghana, which may not necessarily be doing well, but still a huge football nation, on the African continent. Who would have thought that a group that has these two top teams would have Cape Verde of all teams, not just top the group, but with such number of goals and be the first in the entire competition to progress to the last round of the round of 16 level of the competition. I mean, it's amazing. It shows you that you really cannot take any team for granted, even if you want to tip some teams in this particular tournament, you really cannot take any team for granted. Cape Verde, they still even look like they would be able to win their last game against Egypt. Egypt haven't really performed, and especially now with Mohamed Salah going off with that injury that looks like not permitting him to play in that final game. It looks almost possible that they could even go ahead and win that game as well. You talk about Ghana, which in itself has its own issues and has to be able to come back and be able to absolutely win that game against Mozambique to give itself any chance at all of progressing to the next round of the competition. It really throws up that group open and makes it interesting to watch the next round of games that will be happening next week.
Let's just look at that group quickly with Ruben. Ruben, what that means, Group B, astonishingly poised for Cape Verde, if we have a look at it, because now they are through and no one can catch them.
They already won it. Yeah, that's amazing. I have to agree with Justice. I mean, nobody predicted this. Yeah, there's one person who predicted it. It's Mark Owen, our news anchor, but I hope he's not watching and now screaming to the telly that he knew it. But yeah, it's sensational and fully deserved. I think that's really important to underline again, because for 2 matches they dominated the games. They won deservedly against Ghana, and today as well. Mozambique were a bit disappointing, it has to be said. A big goalkeeper error on the first goal, and the second was a defender who made an error. But it takes nothing away from the work that has been done by the federation in Cape Verde, the team that is standing there. It's a strong team. The players are doing everything for each other. It's such fun to watch them play, because you can see what it means for them to play together for their country and how important it is. And that's also that it has been years for them to construct this team, to build this team with players who are coming from all over. Often living in Europe. I just give the example, 4 players coming from the Netherlands. There was a big article today in the newspaper, and they said how proud they are and how proud the Cape Verdean diaspora in the Netherlands is of this team. So you can see that also for them, we were talking about Guinea, they will fancy their chances, because why should they be afraid of these teams? They've won against Ghana. They can win against Egypt. Why not? Cape
Verde, and that's going to be a Mohamed Salah-less Egypt. He's going to be missing the next 2 games through injury. That's officially been confirmed by the federation. And just a bit of more news away from the field. That's Tanzania have suspended coach Adel Amrouche for 8 games. That's after he made insulting remarks about Morocco following their 3-0 defeat to the Atlas Lions. He said they held too much sway in the corridors of African football and influenced referees. And this suspension was after a submitted complaint by Morocco. Well, there's still plenty, though, to look forward to on Saturday. Let's just look at the fixtures quickly. 2019 champions Algeria look to get their campaign back on track with a win against Burkina Faso. Mauritania hope to grab a first ever AFCON victory when they face Angola. And in a crunch Group E match, Tunisia take on Mali with everything already at stake for the North Africans. The standout fixture there for you, Ruben.
Algeria, Burkina Faso. Yeah, I hear you talk about Mali, Tunisia. Mali, Tunisia is also interesting, especially because Tunisia lost, of course, the first game. But I'm really looking forward. Algeria, we shouldn't forget, it is now 4 years that they haven't won an AFCON game. That was the final in 2019. So
4 years without an AFCON win for the Desert Foxes, who literally won with that team in 2019.
Yeah, and against Angola, it wasn't bad, but it also wasn't impressive. Now they're going to play at 3 o'clock in the heat against Burkina Faso. Burkina Faso already having 3 points. They have nothing to lose. They can, for a draw for Burkina Faso would be fine. So I think all the pressure will be on Algeria, and that could make a really interesting game. Tunisia-Mali is also interesting, also because of the history between the two teams. We shouldn't forget, for example, the last elimination match for the last World Cup, where Tunisia eliminated Mali. And yeah, I think that there's also still some hard feelings there in Mali to maybe give them some revenge, because with a win, Tunisia would be out of the tournament.
And that also obviously sets up Group E very nicely in terms of what will happen between South Africa and Namibia. So
Yeah. And I'm sorry, I have to say it again. I know that for South Africa, for you, it's important to talk about it, but I'm so looking forward again to watch Namibia play as well, because they were incredible in the first game, and I really hope that against South Africa, who are also having a pretty good game, especially the first half against Mali, so that could also be a really good game. But yeah, first tomorrow, and Algeria, Burkina Faso, and Mali, Tunisia are really two cracker games. Yeah.
Ruben, you may as well say every single game of the African Cup of Nations is a must-watch. And of course, that's because it is such a sensational tournament. Thank you so much for watching. That's where we're going to have to end it. Ruben, thanks once again. Thanks again to Justice Baidoo in Côte d'Ivoire. That's all we have for now here on France 24. We'll see you soon.